Welcome. I'm so excited. Today we have the very rare privilege of getting to grill John DeMato because that's what I'm gonna do. This is the webinar if you're wondering where you are. This is Media Ready Author. Um, I want to introduce John, but before I do that, I also want to introduce my team, Sade Amherd and Laura Stone. It says staff at their names. If you have a question or you need technical help, do not DM me. Do not DM John. We are going to be busy serving you. Laura and Sade will serve you in a different way by providing you with support so that if you need anything, you can get it from them. Hey, Marianne. Um, so don't we will and I don't usually see the chat too much. So if you've got something you need, please ask them and they will handle it for you. We are recording and we will make this video recording available to you. So if you have to leave, you don't need to announce it. You can just go and then you can get the recording. There will be a time later for questions, but first I'm going to be the one asking all the questions of John and then, of course, you'll get a chance as well. Let me introduce John DeMato. He's a visual storyteller who serves speakers, coaches, authors, trainers, and other expert-based owners. If you're an author or a speaker in the personal or professional development space, you have seen John's work. You just may not realize you have. I also want to add that John invented the unique ways to capture the author, speaker, expert's life, like the in-between moments at events and his book boudoir shoots. And there's so much he does that no one else does. He just sees the world differently. And that's why we really wanted to talk with John today. Um, I need to share a little something though, John, which is
Okay.
first session together. So first of all, who here loves having their picture taken in an extended photo shoot where you have to do, yeah, I'm seeing the thumbs down. Not one person is saying yes. So for me, times that by 20, I really, really
Mm-hmm.
hate it. And, I've got issues with my weight and all those things, and I feel very uncomfortable. And in the past, I would work with photographers and they would sort of tiptoe around that issue. They would like they were trying to make me feel better about it, but then they didn't want to offend me, so then it just felt extra. You know what I'm talking about? Like, okay, stop trying to make me feel better, kind of thing. That's not John. It's not John. Um, John was for what first took me back was we had this whole session before the session. John, you were asking me all these questions. Well, what do you do with this? And how do you work this way? And what's the primary way you work with clients? And what's your typical day like? And all these things that I just, no one asked me in these settings. And I think you put me at ease because you were so curious about me. So it didn't feel like you were overlooking what I was making me feel nervous. It just felt like you were redirecting me to focus on what mattered, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the strategy served multiple purposes. Number one, it gets you used to me, and we create that rapport and connection. And instead of tiptoeing around the thing that I knew you had an issue with, we went at it with a sledgehammer and just smacked it around. Because the truth is, most people feel very uncomfortable in front of the camera, and in your case, it was obviously heightened. So we had to address it from moment one because otherwise, your uncomfortability would be written all over your face in every photo, and every photo would have, and you would have never been able to use them. Therefore, by creating that connection and rapport, by being honest and open, by being prepared and knowing exactly what to expect. All of those pieces added up together helped you kind of get out of your head and get in the present moment and be with me to be able to trust me to hold your hand through the process to get the images that I know you needed, that you know you needed, and to be able to implement them across your entire online presence.
Yeah, I love that because it wasn't like, oh, I need to do a photo shoot for my headshots and all my marketing. The conversation was, what are the media assets you need for the goals you have and what you're trying to do? And that just shifted the conversation. And that's what I wanted to bring to you today is, first of all, John's genius, because he really is in a league of his own. And secondly, to help you reframe your thinking, because I don't see authors doing what they need to do to create their media assets and to leverage them and use them properly. And that is a different conversation than what am I going to look like,
Right.
you know? So that's the conversation we need to be having. Um, okay, just quick, one little more housekeeping thing. This is not a lecture, it's a conversation. That's how I like to do things when I talk to brilliant folks like John, is just have a conversation. So if you have a question, you'll have a chance, but John's not going to do a slide presentation. He's not even going to show you his stuff. You need to go look at that link Laura just posted in the chat if you want to see what John does, because we're talking today, right, John?
Yes. Can I tell them why? The way we
Yeah,
talk.
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When people, oh, a photographer's going to talk, let's go look at some pictures and see what that looks like. But the truth is, based on what we just talked about, the most important thing to think about is to be strategic, intentional before you're in front of the camera in the first place. And that doesn't involve looking at photos. That doesn't even involve looking at, oh, I want to look like this person. I want to look like that person. I want to be this and that. The whole point of creating a visual storytelling library of images is to be able to capture you, your essence, your process, how you do things, how you serve your people, the value you bring. And none of that involves looking at a picture first. It involves actually fleshing out what that looks like, who you are, who you serve, the problems you solve, and how you solve those problems. Therefore, stop looking at the photos and look within and get that stuff out and collaborate with your photographer first. Then you start thinking about what everything is going to look like in terms of location, outfits, and all the other stuff. That's why I don't bring pictures to the table here, because this is a strategic conversation first.
Strategic people, strategic conversation. It kind of takes the sting out of it, John, of worrying about all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the goal of these photos is not to flatter yourself. Yes, they need to be flattering, otherwise, there's no way in hell you're going to use them. So there is that. And there is a bit of an aspect of getting over yourself before we even get into this, because ultimately these photos are not for you, it's for them. It's for those that you serve. It's for those that have a problem that you have a unique way of solving, whether it's from a stage, it's from a slide deck, or a flip chart, or a book. You have a way to help them get past what's holding them back. And as a result, you need to get yourself out there in a way that is genuine and unique to you, showcasing your essence and your process so that it attracts the type of people that you want to work with, and you can help take care of what's been keeping them up at night.
I love that. So I want to just let's define some terms so we're all on the same page. We called this event Media Ready Author. How do you define that? How do we know we're media ready?
So when it comes to media, we're talking two big buckets. We got the video and we got the photos, right? So I specialize in the photography, but I come from a television background. So, but in terms of video, the direct address stuff, the speaker kit stuff, the behind the scenes video of book signings, all of those different things, that there's a whole array of video stuff. But we're going to focus on the photography today. So there's a couple of main sections that fall under photography media assets. First, we have the core elements. Those are the headshots, the wider portraits, the vertical portraits, the lifestyle portraits. Those are the ones that you use on your website, in your speaker, media, PR kits, in your one sheets, in all of the social profiles, different key marketing assets, slide decks, printed materials, back a book cover, all of those things. The ones where you're looking into the camera and the lifestyle photos that are created that are candid, that can be used in different ways on social and in the other touch points online. Then you have the magical moments that happen. Those are the ones that capture you in the act of doing the thing that you do, whether it's from the stage or in front of the room or at a breakout or again at a book signing. Those moments that happen that illustrate you in your element, doing your thing, serving your people. Then we have the details, the book photos, the podcasts you do, behind the scenes stuff, the engagement with different vendors that you work with, different clients that you work with. It's the not the during the thing, the magic, it's the other things that happen before and after it. We want to showcase those elements. And it also can include details such as merchandise and branded elements, whatever that looks like to you. Those details matter and can be leveraged in a variety of ways. And then the last bucket are the smartphone photos, the ones where, unless if you have a paparazzi following you around 24/7, there are moments that are magical that happen in your life and in your business where you don't have a professional photographer capturing them, but they're important to share with your audience because regardless of what you write about, regardless of what your business looks like, you're in the service business. And as a result, you're in the business of building relationships. And those images help fill the gaps that you don't have with professional photos. And it helps paint a broader picture for those who are determining whether or not you are the solution to their problem. So between those four subsections, that's what creates your photography media assets.
Very clear. And I'm realizing I'm not doing that last one. I'm just
Uh-huh.
listening.
I'm
You're
gonna
not
yell.
you're
We're
not
gonna make
surprised.
I'll yell at you about it later.
Yeah. That's okay. Sade would never yell at me, but she's already thinking, yes, yes, that's what I need you to do, please.
Yes.
Um, okay, good. I'm already got a to-do item. All
I
right,
mean,
so then
by
go
the
ahead.
way, AJ, before we go on, for
Yeah,
example, for
yeah,
example, have
yeah.
Sade take a picture right now of the screen of us talking and share that.
But
And
see,
then
this is what we do though, John, right? We just take a screenshot of our Zoom room, but you want her to go like this
take the
and
phone
take a picture of the computer.
up exactly in the environment because it's more real. It's more tangible. It feels there's a texture to it that is less staticky. And I mean, that's okay to take the screen grab, but if we're looking to elevate and create a perception of authority and really make people feel like they're coming along for the journey in the life of your business, the growth of your business. It's that difference between a static screenshot and a behind the scenes that makes it stand out more.
But we want these behind the scenes moments. You're right. How many times have we seen that screen grab on LinkedIn or Facebook of I was in this great thing today and here's the screen grab. Okay, let's all do it. Let's just all let's just get our cameras out. Let's just all do it right now. I'm gonna do one with can my ring light be in the background? Because then that's
Yeah.
scenes too, right?
And I'm going to add a further layer of homework for everyone doing this. Number one, tag both AJ and myself. And then number two, before you post this, think of do it at the end of this webinar and write a takeaway that you got from our conversation and then add that to the story.
Thanks, John. That
You're
was
welcome.
good. Yeah. You just kind of blew my mind with one small thing that I could be thinking about. I'm always hiding the stuff. Like I'm always hiding the stacks of I have so many books, you
You
guys.
got good, yeah, you got good stuff. I've been there. You got good stuff.
Just
Show off the goods.
yeah, but I'm inclined. Like if you saw my desk of the books, I want to hide that until it looks pretty over here. But you're
Uh-huh.
saying let's see the real deal.
Yeah, because the real deal is what makes you real. It's what adds that extra oomph, that extra AJ. It's like, this is what it looks like. I get down and dirty. There's like crap all over the place. I'm doing my thing, but it's messy before it's beautiful. Like, this is the creative mess that creates the beauty that is out into the world and changing people's lives. We got to see that. You got to share those stories. And I'm pretty sure you could write a pretty damn good story about it too with those images.
You know I can. You
I
know.
know you can.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. I gotta ask you this because you are my fellow New Yorker. You are not going to be shy when I ask you this. Because I like to dig into the misconceptions and mistakes right off the bat. I like to talk about the things that we disagree with, right? You're a rebel like me. You do
Hmm.
things differently. You don't follow the status quo. So I want to know what are some conventional approaches to creating and using media assets that you think don't work at all or aren't effective? Or what's something we all believe about creating these media assets that we should probably just stop believing? We should just need to kill that and let it go.
Okay, well, the first thing that comes to mind is if I look good in the photo is good enough to share. And the reality is that is the prerequisite, not the objective. The objective is to get an image that is flattering and positions you as that expert, and you have that presence within it, and your essence is being shown. That's important. But what's also important is its flexibility in being leveraged in multiple places across your online presence. Now, what do I mean by that? Instead of just having images where you're centered and you're looking straight into the camera and it's like all whitewashed and clean, and what we want is images that have an array of images that have, your position to the left, your position to the right, the angles are different, the expressions on your face are different. There's variety from shot to shot to shot, and that it gives your team the opportunity to place these in different for different projects, different marketing promotional projects, different touch points in your online presence, things that can be printed for your offline presence. And being able to just think more about the value of the image and not just the vanity of the image. And this also ties into the other misconception, which is, oh, I have 3 to 5 photos. I'm going to use them everywhere. I'm done. And I don't have to worry about this for another 3 years. That's a problem because your business and you as a human being evolve over time regardless of whether you realize it or pay attention to it or not. As a result, if you are a business owner, your story that you share online through your visuals is never ending. As a result, that visual storytelling library needs to constantly be updated if you want to evolve and grow and continue to stay relevant as a credible authority in your space. And if you don't do that, it signals to your audience that, whether it's true or not, that you don't care. And what happens is the perception of you being at the top of your game diminishes. And your relevance as the, premium authority diminishes. And people will start to overlook you. And your once signal that you sent out into the world through your content, through the way that you present yourself online, just becomes noise and you blend into the crowd. And that's a problem.
I feel like I asked you to be a rebel with me and that you just called me out instead. that you just took me to task. It has been a few years, I will admit, and I do like to stick with my solid. I don't even think five, two, three that I'll use when you
You're
gave me hundreds.
you're hurting my feelings right now. Please stop. I'm getting vulnerable. Do not do that. I'm going to pretend you didn't say that. And we're going to have a conversation when I see you in person in Wisconsin. Don't you worry about that.
Okay, I accept. I know what I'm in for. So you, aside from not updating it for years and years, and then only using a few of the assets that our photographers give us, what are some other mistakes? What are we doing? What are we doing wrong? What do you see everyone doing that you wish they would just quit doing?
Well, instead of stop doing, it's more about what you should start doing.
Okay.
It it's the headshot. Oh, the the stuff where you're looking into the camera, the core part of your core assets. People think that that's enough. Oh, well, I have my three photos that I use for my podcast appearances, for my speaking appearances, for the back of the book cover. That's it, but they don't show the what I was talking about before, the before and the after, or them in the process of doing their thing, the magical moments, or showcasing the details. Like they just don't even think that that's important. They focus on, oh, well, I'm posting video. That's enough. People assume
Oh.
that video is well, video is the future. Video is everything. Listen, I spent 9 years as a producer. I get the importance of video. And for those who do speak in front of audiences, it is absolutely essential. But when it comes to video and photos, it's not either or, it's yes and. And the reason is because most people presume that, oh, I put out this direct address video. Surely everyone's going to want to just put everything down, put their headphones in, and fully immerse themselves in this video. When the reality is, if they didn't buy into who you are in the first place, chances are they're not going to care. I'm the type of person that never watches video online. I just don't invest the time. But if I see a cool photo, I'm going to stop. I'm going to read that caption. And in many cases, I'm going to comment and engage it. And in some cases, share it because it's valuable to my audience. Because photos have flexibility that video does not. Whereas video does have that dynamic quality of showcasing your personality and being in people's faces, and it is very important to have. It doesn't have the ability to be used in a million different places for a million different reasons. So that's why it's important to think about and start, if you're not, building a visual storytelling library to complement, not replace, your video content in order to be able to attract more people into your world, for them to buy into the fact that you might be the solution to their problem. And then they're going to watch your videos and engage your videos and share your videos and then respond to you and try to get on the phone to figure out, what it looks like to work with you.
So I'm hearing you say we aren't shooting enough, we aren't shooting often enough, and we're not using what we're shooting.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to get that clear. Okay. What, John, I want to clarify one more term before we move on. Why do you call yourself a visual storyteller?
So
Why that?
yeah, well, visual storytelling, if I had to like kind of summarize it in a quick way, it's the strategic process of putting together a portfolio of images, the aforementioned core assets, the magic moments, the details, the smartphone photos that help promote who you are, who you serve, the problems you solve, and how you solve those problems in order to support the growth of your business, whether you're looking to get more clients, make more money, or work more often. And the key piece being strategic and intentional behind it, as opposed to just getting a mishmash of photos from this photographer that maybe will send them to you 4 weeks later, and getting that random branding session in the park where you brought three shirts and maybe you're going to get four photos of it, and maybe get some smartphone photos of people that are at your event, and you're going to just throw those in and maybe figure out a way to use them 3 months from now. It's intentional and strategic from jump. And then it's working your way outward to be able to build this portfolio, this visual storytelling library in a way that helps build that foundational element of supporting you putting yourself out there as the authority in your space.
Now wondering, because we met to talk about what shots, but I'm wondering if you have a person on your team, like I'm so lucky to have Sade on my team who's a marketing coordinator, if you need to get that person on those calls, because if you're creating a strategic plan for the visuals and you're maybe only going to do this, at least the professional part, once it, well, for me, it's okay, I'm going to be better, but I think I'm in year four, three, four,
Probably
three.
four.
Okay.
Well, let's call it three and give you some grace.
Okay. But ideally, I'm assuming you want us to update this stuff every year. Yeah.
I mean, ideally, Uh, it depends on the frequency of posting, the amount of assets that you're creating, the growth of your business, your appearance changes. There's many factors to determine what the frequency needs to be.
Okay.
But overall, like I do have retainer clients that are, ongoing. So it's just over and over and over again because as I said before, the never-ending story is never ending. Therefore, that dictates a lot of, because the rooms you work in change too,
Yeah.
with that business growth. So that matters. The type of client you're working with changes as well when you see what that looks like. So, there's
Yeah.
a lot of different factors.
So would you then recommend if a person has somebody on their marketing team to bring them into that conversation about the strategy?
Um, I, I've done it. I've done that. In many cases, to me, it's the person that I want to talk to is first and foremost the person that's in front of the camera, because that's the connection I need to make most first,
Yeah.
because they're the ones that I have to create the rapport and connection with. But when the marketing person is on that call, they're generally just taking notes, and then they'll interject every now and then, but it doesn't hurt.
I mean, obviously, if they have a vision, then they would be contributing. Um,
Right.
so, Mike Michalowicz, my writing partner, he says that there's a study, and I don't have the study, so yeah, hold on, I don't have a link for the study, but he says there's a study that shows that the more pictures you have of yourself, the more trust you build. If you have fewer pictures, people are less likely to trust you. Is that your experience? Do you think that's a big factor in building trust, having a lot of different photos in different scenarios?
Yes. I mean, for multiple reasons, and it's not just the amount of photos, it's the type of photos, meaning, you know, ones that showcase various aspects of your personality, and that it's consistently shown over time, that the perception that you want to create in the minds of those that you serve is consistently showcased over time, that you are captured in the act of doing the thing that you do for the people who pay you money consistently over time, however that looks, and the fact that you're doing it consistently, and all of that together helps create trust. Because ultimately, you know, think of it this way. If someone posted something, very consistently for a month and you're invested, and then they ghost social or they ghost their blog or newsletter and disappear. I mean, how are you going to feel about that person? Right?
Yeah.
So all of that stuff matters. All of these little pieces matter. It's not one gigantic thing that you do and it's done. It's never done. It's
Yeah.
constantly evolving over time. And, it's a pain in the ass, but it is.
I like what you said. You were really clear with me that we need pictures of you doing the thing you do and in the space doing the thing you do for money is what you just said. And
Yeah.
I don't think people are getting enough of that.
No.
Going to some oh, let's go to this hotel that I've never been to that looks pretty and then sit on all the couches and things in all the different places and go quick change my clothes in the ladies' room to this place I'm probably never going to go to again that doesn't represent me at all. And
Right.
I think that's just a huge takeaway that we need to be photographed doing the thing we do for money.
Yeah.
That's what blows my brain a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the other thing about that, AJ. It's not that the hotel is the worst idea in the world, as long as the aesthetic complements the person's brand and personality, but that's not enough.
It's not
It's the
enough. Yeah.
it's the that's the core stuff. That's the branding images. Those are the ones where you're looking into the camera. But really, it's those magical moments. It's the stage stuff. It's the different events that you folks conduct or the conferences that you're at or all of the podcasts that you're on, the audio recording for your book. What does that look like? Show those different things, those
That's
different moments, and
so
bring your people into your world.
I'm wondering, I'm just thinking of this now. Okay, so I'll tell nonfiction authors if you want to be, if you want to leverage your book to monetize it in some way. So let's say, you want more clients or you want to become a speaker or whatever. You want to plant seeds for that in the book that shows you in that role already so that it tells people. So instead of just saying you're a speaker, you have a story about being a speaker that shows you as a speaker in that situation. Now I'm wondering, if I wanted to get a bunch of indie bookstores to get me to come talk or to just talk with me about shelving the book, maybe then I would do the iPhone piece, that's that fourth bucket, and go talk to some indie bookstore people, but take a picture of myself doing that and start using that so that can you call forward? Can you create confidence like that? Like, oh, this person is for other indie bookstore owners, and you can use that picture then, and then that helps you actually get the thing you want. Do you think that it's like what I said about planting seeds, that you can plant seeds with the photos too?
Oh, absolutely. And what I would say is, first of all, I love that idea, and
It's a
I've done
good
that
idea,
before.
right?
And I've done that before for authors. Well, it wasn't an indie, it was a Barnes and Noble, but regardless,
Okay.
the point being is professional or smartphone shots. Absolutely. And what I would say is in that particular scenario, in the same way that we did the massive phone jam and everyone's going to follow through with this and tag us and write their takeaway at the end of this, I would encourage the people in that audience to do the same thing as well because it's it helps create an opportunity for people to realize that, this is a real person doing a real thing in a real moment. And it's not just, you know, beautiful portraits and all of that stuff. It's tangible and it shows you in your environment, in your world, doing your thing from the buyer perspective, which is very, very important to share, especially for people that are promoting their book.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like, oh my gosh, so many good takeaways. So I remember when we worked together that, and I feel like I know what you're going to say, but I still want to ask this question. I
Hmm.
was surprised you wanted so many personal things when I was, tr I mean, honestly, I was trying to get a headshot for my book and trying to give Laura a couple things she could use. Um, I didn't have high aspirations for it. Um, but you wanted a lot of personal things. And so how do the personal shots help us tell the professional story?
Well, like the little troll dolls, for example.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have troll dolls. They represent the inner critic. I keep them in a jar.
You just answered the question right there. Why? Because it matters to you. And when you talk about that story with that image, it's relevant and valuable to your audience on multiple levels. Number one, to help give them a teachable moment that they can apply to their own life and think about how they're dealing with their own inner critic. But number two, it gives them a broader view of you as a human being and your uniqueness and your essence. That's why that's important. I've shot family photos. So I've shot meta photos of photos. I've shot uh, different types of ceramics and other types of dolls and books and things of that nature, but all kinds of different tchotchkes and memorabilia and little rocks and stones and all kinds of stuff for people. Why? Because these things, these objects, they matter to the person that I'm working with, and it can be shared in a way that is relevant and valuable to their audience. And what that does is paint yet another layer of you on top of the whole visual storytelling piece that you're sharing with them. So it makes them feel like they know you even more deeply. And in many cases, you've never opened your mouth in front of them in real life. But yet, through the way that you're conveying your story to them, they feel like they know you. And stuff like that only contributes to that goal.
Yeah. Got me thinking now about other things because when you came, I didn't think you were going to shoot that stuff. Then I got paranoid about my bookshelf. And I thought, well, if he's going to shoot my bookshelf, I might need to think about some of these titles that are on the bookshelf. Because,
That's the money right there. We got to
well,
shoot
but as a former ghostwriter, I would have to turn some of them the other way. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was interesting. Okay, so I've got to ask you, how do we know which photos to use where? Which photos go on the website? Which photos go on the social media? Which photos go, I mean, where do they go? How do we know?
Well, after sitting and crying a little bit, realizing you have like thousands of photos and not knowing what to do, um, the first step is to start thinking very high levelly about, how do you want to be seen by people, you know? Um, because for everybody, that answer is different. It's impossible to kind of specify for every person because every person's life's a little different, their business model's a little different, their personality is a little different. But what I would say is when you're like looking at your let's say social profile, for example, we'll talk a little bit about the speaker kit, the social profile, and the website, very high levelly. So for the social profile, the image that you want to put out there is something that's confident, approachable, likable, and illustrates aspects of your personality through your facial expression. And the key piece here for your personal page, you could put whatever the hell you want for that. But for the professional page, you want something that's tightly cropped where you're looking directly in the camera, making eye contact with the person. And the reason is because in many cases, that image, regardless of platform, is the first place that people are going to be introduced to you. So you want to make a good impression and you want it to be a genuine impression. So I would say when thinking about the profile photo for your socials, think like that. Don't get cute with it. And God forbid you use an AI photo. Don't
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
That's for the social. For the website, the I mean, when you're talking about a home page, determine whether or not your top of the fold is going to be a video of you or if it's going to be a photo. And if it's going to be a photo of you, how do you want to be seen in the first image? Is it just saying hi through a portrait, or is it something where you want to showcase you in your book? Is it you on a stage? Like, what is the first impression you want to make? And then find the image that has that confidence, that passion behind what you do, whatever that looks like. Don't necessarily just pick the photo where if it's happens to be a stage photo and you're in a large audience where you're a little baby string bean, little peanut in that in the shot where the people can't recognize you. Make sure you're visible so people can connect with your face, whether you're making direct eye contact or not. And then, in terms of the rest of the website page, pick photos that visually punctuate the sentiment of the copy that you have on on that homepage. Don't just put images that you think look good. So if there's something that's conveying your expertise, have an image that visually punctuates that sentiment. Whether it's a behind this a lifestyle photo of you working with a client, or if it's a magical moment captured in a real scenario, determine whether which one makes the most sense for the copy. The copy helps dictate the types of images that you leverage with that. And then when it comes to your services pages, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. If you're talking about workshops, show what the workshop looks like, whether it's recreated during the core asset, branding session, or if it's from a magical moment during a real session. Either way, show them what it looks like on those services pages. And then for the about photo, look them in the eye. Doesn't necessarily need to be your headshot. And in many cases, it would be better if you don't pick your headshot. Variety, to be able to, you know, show people that you have more than three photos that you're sharing where. And then in terms of your speaker kit, think in terms of two buckets: your promotional images and your action images. Your promotional images are the headshots and the wider portraits, the vertical portrait looking into the camera, right? That's what you're going to use for all the podcasts, the appearances, the media appearances, the profile pictures, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have the action photo bucket and whatever that looks like to you, and whether it's recreated in a branding session or if it's captured as magical moments during a real event. You want to have at least 5 to 7 different types of promotional images with different outfits, different locations, different expressions on your face. And then you want to have at least 8 to 10 action photos, different stages, different rooms, different activities. But make sure that you're not just a tiny little peanut in the shot. You have to be visible. That's the point of these images. We talked about mistakes before, AJ. One of the other ones, if I can backtrack, is the fact that a lot of people think they need this hero shot and they're done. I was in front of 2,000 people. I'm done. No, you're not. It's a great photo. And yes, you need that thing because it helps create credibility. But at the same time, you also need the ones where people can connect with you on a personal level. And that photo is epic and awe-inspiring, but they can't connect with you with that. You have to have those two.
Yeah, I love that. I want to open up to questions, but before we do that, I do want to bring up a couple quick things. When you do events and you capture a lot of events, there's those on stage photos or if it's a workshop, in the workshop, but you also do this behind the scenes, the before and the in between.
Yeah.
Why is the in between so important? Why are all this sort of getting ready for the event or in between events so critical?
Well, aside from the fact that it helps fill in the gaps for the never-ending story and it continues to provide added ammunition to the visual storytelling library. What it also does is it signals to other event professionals that you are what it looks like when you're in the room working with them. You
Yeah.
know, that's your audience too. It's not just the people in the seats. It's also the AV crew. What does that look like? What does the book signing look like? How, it also shows your preparedness and the fact that you care. You're backstage with the crew going over the slide deck. We want to see that. We want to make this moment feel real. We want to bring people along on the journey. It's not just look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm amazing. I'm worth what I charge. Yeah, you need that. But it's also come along with me on my journey and really get a sense of what it's like to be on the road with me as I'm out there doing my thing, helping people just like you.
I love that. That's so important for authors too, all those behind the scenes moments. Um,
I mean,
so many. There's
I
so
mean, yeah. I mean, all the editing, where you write, how you write, what everything looks like, digital, analog, whatever. Working with people like you.
the
I mean,
calendar, the meetings, the everything. Yeah.
and all of that stuff, again, can be magical moments that are captured in real life, or they can be recreated during the branding session. But the most important thing to keep in mind is that it needs to be accounted for in your visual storytelling library.
Yeah. And then before I get to the questions, I have one more thing I want to say. This is what you invented these book boudoir shoots,
Mm.
and I love them so much. And I want every author to do this because this is what authors do. They give the flat front cover of the book, or they do that um weird 3D thing with a fake spine, where
Yep.
it's not really the spine and it's just tilted to the side, but that's not the real spine. And it's just a pet peeve of mine because it doesn't look like a real book. It's because it's not. It's just the flat front cover tilted to the side with a fake spine to make it look 3D. I think here's your life's work in this book. Can we treat it with the reverence it deserves? And can we show this beautiful work of art in all its glory in the actual book? Because all I ever see on the book post is the same thing. The flat cover or the tilted fake 3D thing. Or maybe like I'll see like, oh, I'm signing a lot of books. Here I am drowning in all my stacks, which is fine. I love those. That's great. You should show yourself surrounded by books. But that's really all I see. So you do these book boudoir photos, and I did one. I think it's on your website.
Yes, it is. Of
Yeah,
course
if
it is.
anybody wants to check out mine for Write a Must Read. And it's I'm telling you, it's so many pictures of every, the cover, the spine, the back cover, the interior, the quotes, the images, the table of contents, whatever. And just like with the photo shoot for me, you had a meeting with me first. What do we want to capture here? What's really
Yeah.
important to us?
Yeah.
Um, so I love this so much because that's evergreen. That's for your book, and you can use it forever to have different images that of your book for different things. And it's unlike the pictures of you that you can use that forever. You don't have to refresh that.
Yeah. I mean, aside from the fact that, you know, we talk about capturing your essence in front of the camera, right? And that's critical. We want to capture the essence of the book too. It's a living, breathing thing when it's put into action, right? And you want to give your audience an opportunity to preview the book in their hands through their eyes. And those 2D images simply don't do that. But when the way that the pages are folded, the section headers are shot, the way that the lighting is, all of that creates a texture, it creates a vibe and emotion in something that is, not living, but it is living in terms of the words. And I really like the fact that you use the word reverence. I mean, yeah, it is your life's work. Like it is worth the effort to put in. And then in terms of its creative flexibility with regards to, as you said, being evergreen, you know, that's your IP. That stuff can go out there. And quite frankly, you don't want to just have 90 million photos of your face out there all the time. You want to break it up. And why not break it up with the framework that actually is your thing, your magic, your special sauce, the way you serve. And that's why these photos have a lot of flexibility before the launch, after the launch, forever and ever.
I appreciate it too. I sent the book to John, y'all, with post-its of the pages I wanted and the things that were important to me. And it was a reflective exercise for me. Well, what do I really want to highlight here? What represents me? And it was actually kind of emotional, but it's maybe also something to think about when you're looking at the interior design for your book. Okay, if I'm going to photograph this, what am I going to be happy about here? It's important things to think about. Before we do the questions, I just want to point out that John has a newsletter and he'd love for you to sign up. And he gives lots of advice. We've already have too many takeaways today to count. So I would love if you would join John's email list. And I believe Laura put that in the chat where you can, and then you have a free little thing for people who sign up.
The link in the chat is for the free gift. It basically is you mentioned before, like where do we use these photos, right? So I've created a visual storytelling implementation guide that kind of breaks down some of the stuff we talked about, as well as a whole bunch of other different areas with regards to, you get these branding photos, you get these magical moment photos, you get these detail photos, you have your smartphone photos. Well, what the hell do you do with them? So I have a a guide that kind of breaks down all of the different areas that can really give you more of a full scope view as to what to think about when you're investing in these images and then what to do afterwards. In terms of the newsletter, you folks can, we could just go to my website and I have a sign up page at the bottom of the homepage.
Awesome. So we have two questions that came in. One's from Marianne Hudson who asks, John, for the on the stage photos, what to do if we work in highly confidential settings where the client doesn't really want their group photos taken of the sessions or anything really.
Is this a keynote workshop? What are we looking at specifically?
Yeah, so it's usually like an offsite where the team will be coming in to do a strategy session.
Yep.
And as I was listening to you, I asked that question, put it in the chat early on. Some of the pieces began to come together for me on what we might do. But once that offsite starts, the door's closed and it's very confidential. So if I had you in there to take pictures that I know I need, right? I know I need these pictures. I know I've needed them for a long time. That's just not going to fly. Um,
Yeah.
so how do you do that? And then there's always a time at the end of the offsite, and these are usually like 2 to 3 day kind of things that we have a group photo. But we usually just get someone that's local, to come take the shot, and it's never really good, very good. So, when you work with clients, and it's like how do you do that? Like, you can't come and go, like, you can't go to Florida from New York and then hang out until the end of the session group shot, right? So I'm just curious, highly confidential, what should I do there? And then I'd love to know just kind of how you navigate, getting in there and getting those photos that I know I need.
So to answer your first question, there's two ways to crack that nut. Number one, and I've done both many times. I photographed specifically, I remember a coaching session with like 20 people. They really didn't want to be photographed. So basically, what my focus was put on was the speaker, the presenter, and then photograph backs of heads and blow everybody else out of focus and
Yeah.
capture the speaker from various vantage points throughout the space and
Mhm.
using backs of heads and their hands writing and that kind of
Oh.
thing. So that's that. Number
Mhm.
two, you can recreate what a workshop looks like in
Oh.
a branding session. And the way that, and I've done that 80 million times, you basically throw some laptops on the table, get some coffee cups, and
Yeah.
then
Just stage
just
it.
photograph you. Yeah, just recreate what it looks like. So you have your framework on the whiteboard, or you're working on a flip chart, or you have slides, and it's really focused on you. So it's
Yeah.
two ways to get that. In terms of a group shot at the end and not having, so in my case, I mean, I've been hired to do full 3 days. It's not necessary. Option A for that could be to move the group shot to the one day I would be there and then I would photograph the full day. And then at the end, we do the group shot before I jump on a plane and go home. Or the other option is I fly in on day two, get in there comfortably, and then shoot all of day three
Do it
and
all. Yeah.
then get that. But the point being is that there's always a solution to these problems.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I'll never forget an offsite where I said we'll need a photographer at the end of the offsite to take a picture, and they scheduled the photographer to come at the very beginning. I said, "Oh, this is not going to work," because after they've gone through the experience, they look like different people,
Yeah,
literally.
fair
They've had
enough.
such a good experience.
Yeah.
There's a different team. I'll actually have it up in my office through that before they've done the good work, right? They just don't look the same.
Well,
So,
then option B is the way to go. You bring in,
yeah,
you
come
bring,
in later. You'll get what you need of me, right? Because you can
yeah,
get that in any way and then get that. Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Very helpful.
I've got a question from Kristen Wheeler who asks, I'm super goofy, girly, and childlike, but I'm also scholarly and rigorous and warm. And I'm worried about how I present myself in goofy ways. And then I hesitate and wonders just some advice about reconciling all that.
The answer is yes. You show all of it. There is a time and a place for the goofy, the fun, and there's a time and a place for the warm, intelligent expert. It's not an either or, it's a yes and always. You want to be able to showcase all of that stuff because at the end of the day, how do you act in front of the people who pay you money? Do you do both? Do you do one? Because if you do both, you got to show them both and you got
Mhm.
to own it. Because ultimately, if you don't own who you are as a person, why the hell should they spend premium dollars in you to be the solution to their problem? They're not going to trust you. You got to show the whole thing, period.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Catherine is wondering, how do you find a good photographer? Well, here's one, but how else can Catherine find a photographer?
Well, one of the best ways to do it is by asking your colleagues. Uh, Referrals are generally the best way to go, but don't just lean on referrals. You have to have a qualification process, folks, because what that photographer got for your colleague may not be the same thing that they're going to get for you. For example, the way that I talked about the connection with AJ, what she would have gotten with me might have been different or would have been different. Every photographer is different in terms of their approach, in terms of their demeanor, the directing style, aside from the deliverables. All of those pieces matter. So when you're qualifying a photographer, price tag is important. Yes, their portfolio is important, but just as important is, am I going to be able to stomach this human being with a camera shoved in my face for like half a day, and I'm not going to be irritated at them, but in fact actually enjoy the process and God forbid be myself, bring the guard down and be present and in the moment and being genuine. Those are the things that you need to do. So it's start with referrals and then don't just talk to people through email and book a session through text or words. You have to have a human being conversation with them to be able to get a real sniff test as to whether or not this is the right person for you to point the camera at you capturing your photos.
I love that. I mean, I was doing my shoot, Catherine, honestly, because I had reached a point where I could no longer get away with not doing it. Like it was just a point of no return for me. Um, but when I spoke with John, I like that helped me so much, you know? So I think you'll know from those conversations, you know, you can kind of get a vibe, you know? Yeah. And then now you have a bunch of things you can ask a photographer. Like, what, you know, I want these buckets. What's your take on visual storytelling? How do you do that? Now you have context from how you've talked to John. We've got Francesca asks John, and we're just running a little bit over. Is that okay, John?
Yeah.
Okay. Francesca asks, what's your advice on making sure our pictures are the most authentic and real? I've seen so much that isn't real on social.
Well, first of all, it's the commitment to owning who you are, as I mentioned before, with the goofy and professional and all of that. That's number one. The other piece is, wear the clothes that you wear when you're in front of people who pay you money or when you work by yourself. Use the materials that you use when you do the work that you do in those photos. Capture the moments that happen in the actual rooms that you work in. When you put all of that together, that's what creates genuine images. That's what paints a real picture of what it's like to be in your world and how you work with your people. You don't have to make it any more complicated than that. It's just a commitment to doing that over and over and over again. That's it.
Yeah. And our last question is from Ivan. I have a professional photo that captures the essence of the book I'm writing, and I do have the rights to use. I love the pic also, but I generally don't see a lot of photos on book covers. Can this be a turnoff? Oh, that's going to be a joint question. Is Ivan still here? Ivan? Yes. I don't know if you can come off mute, Ivan, if that's a possibility for you, but I do have a clarifying question.
Hello.
Hello. Are
Sorry,
you
I'm in Australia and it's like 6 a.m. at the moment.
okay? No
But
Uh,
all
problem.
good. I'm a
I
huge fan, by the way. Thank you.
oh yeah, thank you for being here. Ivan, are you referring to you have a photo that's not of you that you want to use on your for the front cover? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm in the photo.
You're
A
in the
newspaper
photo.
came and took the photo. Essentially, I'm a flower farmer. It's about planting seeds. I've got sunflowers that I've grown in the background. I love the photo. I just don't generally see people on photo covers and book covers kind of thing. It's just a side on vision of me with all my sunflowers in the background. There's fog in the background of that. It was just like an incredible photo. That's all.
It sounds amazing. I mean, I would use it on the cover. What do you think, John?
yeah. It sounds awesome. I mean, and it encapsulates the book. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, it totally encapsulates the book. I'm so worried. That's all.
Oh, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of it. First of all, what's the book and where can we get it? So we're all fascinated. You said Flower Farmer, and we were all just like, wait, what? Tell us everything. I'm assuming that
Uh,
is the book for other people who want to be flower farmers, or is it more is about something unrelated?
ooh, by the way, I've read your book like maybe 5 or 6 times. So it's, it's kind of like a story of like I went through a hard time. It's a family farm. I was never a farmer. It's a bit of a history of the farm. And then it goes into me becoming a farmer. We have so many things that go wrong on the farm. All our machinery is old and what have you. So it's like a whole process. And then the goal of 1 year was to plant 1 million sunflowers. I'm like, okay, I'm going to journal this whole year of
What?
planting 1 million sunflowers. Things are going to go right. Things are going to go wrong. Many things did. And then putting that all together into a book. And that is the essence. And so it's a whole there are parts that go terribly wrong, and then in the end, obviously, not obviously, but by fortune, things came good. And this particular photo was taken by a newspaper that came on the 27th of December of this particular year. So I'm like, you know what? It's perfect for this book because it happened in that particular year. That's the story.
Oh my God. You wrote a memoir about planting a
Yes.
million sunflowers?
Yes.
When is it being, wait, do you have a publishing deal? What's happening? What's going on?
No, I've got nothing. No, I'm just in the editing process. So I'm editing everything as we speak.
Oh, Ivan, I'm begging you to stay in touch, number one.
Oh,
I'm begging
really?
you.
Thank you.
I've got to hear how this turns out. Laura just put, I think, the picture in the chat. Did you, Laura? Is that it? John, can you see it? Did you
Newspaper.
No,
can you see the
Yeah,
chat?
that's the
I don't
I
see
want to
it.
get yeah, it's
It's
do you
in
see
I'm
the
looking
chat?
at I was actually looking at the chat just now and I don't
Hang
see.
on. It's okay. I'm gonna
Oh,
share hang on. I'm gonna show everybody.
oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, you got it. Okay. You got it. So what do you
Oh
say?
yeah, man. Look at
Hell
that.
yeah, man.
Come
Hell yeah,
on.
man.
It's awesome.
okay.
Would you use that on
And
the front cover? I don't know. Now that I see that, I might put it, it might be busy with the title treatment. So I might put it, say, on the whole back or above, like the bottom half of the back or the top half of the back.
Oh, because it might be
okay,
too
okay.
busy. Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
might
that's what I
be
was worried about. Yeah.
hard to do a title treatment. You could do it if you split it, you just it's too busy otherwise, but I maybe you could do a split on the front cover. Uh
Mhm.
but here's one thing you
That's
can
kind of what I was thinking, a split on the front cover. Yeah.
are you okay, you're not going to have much choice unfortunately if you get a deal, but you can because they're going to have a lot to say about it. But one thing you can do is you can do some sample covers and you can run them through Pickfu, Pickfu, and
Mhm.
you can get some, opinions from the people at large about which cover they like best.
Oh, great. Thank you.
But Ivan,
I was so nervous to talk to you. So thank you.
what? Oh, Ivan, I'm just me over here, trying to think about what I'm gonna eat for dinner. And my desk is a mess, you know. I'm just a person. Ivan, please stay in
I know.
touch. We got to know about this flower book. Everybody, right?
Okay.
This sounds fascinating. And
I
that's
actually literally thought no one would want to read this thing.
what? Oh my gosh.
Mm.
Oh
Ivan,
my gosh, indeed.
okay. Wrong, wrong, wrong.
Okay,
Everybody
thank
wants to
you.
read it. Yes.
I will be in touch.
Yes. John, wasn't that's so cool. I'm
He
glad
is
you
the
got
best.
your stamp of approval on that sunflower photo. Like that's so good, right?
That's it's awesome.
What
And
else
you
what
may
else does he need?
I think a thorough review of our conversation will help enlighten him to
But I
fill
mean,
all
like,
that.
if he's the farmer guy, if he's like the memoir farmer,
Oh, okay. So if in that case, a lot of lifestyle candid images of him doing his thing on the farm.
yeah,
And
okay.
what does the before process look like? What does the during process look like? What is the I have absolutely no idea what any of that is, but that's why we have a strategy call and we would flesh out what those stages, what that process looks like, and then the aftermath. Where do they end up? And show that.
Yeah. Okay, this was good. I'm so glad you spoke up, Ivan, because we're all enthralled by that. Everybody, do you see what a genius John is? It's so different. It's so different. I love that you say I'm a visual storyteller and you don't even say photographer because that's who you are. You're just in a league of your own. And I'm thank you for this gift for people, this free gift that they can get, and for spending time with us today, John.
The pleasure was all on this side of the lens, my friend. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. If you want to hear more from John too, we can always maybe schedule another thing, but really just join his mailing list, get on his radar, learn from him. Learn from him. All right? Okay, everyone. Enjoy the day.